And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday. So, obviously, this isn't ideal. I'm starting an hour later than I normally do, and there's good reason for that. So, for some reason, they decided to do work on the power lines on my block. So when I was getting ready to do the show about, a little over an hour ago, we didn't have any power. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to start the show on time. And I didn't know when we were going to get power back. But we were able to get it back about, 10, 15 minutes ago. So, now we're starting an hour later, but that's all right. We're here, obviously, and of course it's after I didn't have the show yesterday, but I'm here now, and I will be with you guys for the next hour, and then of course we have the Patreon, which I will record shortly after this. But obviously there's a lot to talk about today. Before we get into that, as always, for donations and tips for the show, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, always helps the show. And for bonus coverage materials that are not covered on this broadcast, make sure to go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network, and that's where you can find all of our exclusive content. So with that, what we have on tap for today's show is, of course, going through the latest news and headlines around the league. Of course, in the next two segments, then we will recap the games from yesterday, both in the American League and the National League. We'll give their spotlight in their own segments. So I'll do obviously the Rays and Rangers series, Blue Jays and Twins. We'll do that next, and then in the third segment we'll do the Diamondbacks and the Brewers, and the Phillies and the Marlins, and then we will preview the games, the Game 2 games for today. So that's basically what's on tap for today's show. Obviously, again, not ideal. Of course, no show yesterday, and then we had what ended up happening today, which, again, I couldn't believe it. But that's just what happens with this. And, obviously not going to go crazy over it. But, yeah, so let's get right into the first segment, which is talking about the latest news and headlines around the league. So one of the big things that came from yesterday, and we'll talk about it in the next segment, is obviously something really crazy that I didn't really think about, is the Twins snapping their 18-game postseason losing streak. Now, one of the reasons why I didn't have them winning the series against the Blue Jays, and again, it's still possible that can happen, is just whenever the Twins have made it to the playoffs in my lifetime, they have not done anything. They have not been able to move on to the next round. They always get knocked out. And they haven't even won a game. So I'm pretty sure this is like the first. I mean, I have to go back, but this is the first time that I can remember that, especially with them ending the losing streak, this is the first time they've won a postseason game in my lifetime. And, a lot of that had to do with the fact that they just were not. They would always go up against the Yankees. The Yankees were their kryptonite. The Yankees beat them in the 09 division series. They beat them in the 2010 division series. They knocked them out in the 2017 wild card. The Twins just could not catch a break. And, this was a big win for them. The crowd was really into it. So good for them. And MLB did come out with an article that talked about, like, what everything was like the last time that they won a postseason game. So these were like, I think 19 facts about them ending their losing streak, which again is just incredible that it lasted that long. So let's go through it right now. So obviously the drought lasted 6,938 days over that span. The Twins have reached the postseason in 2006, 2009, 2010, 2017, 2019, and 2020. And yeah, that was the other thing too. 2019 was also the other year they played the Yankees in the division series. So, yeah, I mean, And 5 of those appearances were as AL Central champions. 2017 was the wild card game against the Yankees, and that was the game I was in attendance for. So, yeah. And then of the 18 postseason losses during the drought, 13 came against the Yankees. And, yeah, so the Yankees are a big reason why the Twins have not won really any postseason games over the last decade plus. So, yeah, so back then, so George Bush was the president of the United States the last time they won a playoff game. Facebook was the world's first major social media platform, and it was called the Facebook. And it says it was limited to Harvard University and other colleges in the northeastern U.S. The iPhone was still 3 years away. Flip phones ruled the earth, and that was my first phone that I got. The Twins were still playing at the Metrodome. Phillies completed their first season at Citizens Bank Park. The Astros would still be in the National League for another 8 years. Rocco Baldelli was a 22-year-old center fielder for the Rays. And, if you used to play 2K8 like I did on the Wii, he was on the Rays. I just remember when I would play that game and I would play against the Rays, Rocco Baldelli is one of the first names that comes to mind. The game with Jose Reyes on the cover. That's really the only 2K that I still own. Is that 2K8 game with Jose Reyes on the cover. Joe Mara was a 21-year-old rookie. Royce Lewis, who we'll talk about in the next segment, he was 5 years old. It's a very different world. And, so notable names that were in the lineup for the 2004 ALDS. Torrey Hunter, Justin Morneau, two guys that come to mind. The Yankees had Jeter, A-Rod, Gary Sheffield, Bernie Williams, Hideki Matsui, Jorge Posada, Ruben Sierra. I mean, it was a different world back then. Really was. And I started watching baseball, in 2007. So, it's been a long time, but that's just something that, I thought was interesting is just, the last time that the Twins, won a game in the postseason. It was when so many different guys were playing. I mean, it's crazy to think about that. But so that's one of the headlines there is the Twins getting their first postseason victory in a long time, snapping their losing streak. Some other things to talk about. So I don't know if I did mention this the last time I was on, but I know the Yankees they're bringing back Aaron Boone as their manager. No surprise there, of course. I knew that was going to happen. It didn't really seem like when you see a lot of the headlines that, Steinbrenner, Cashman, Boone, they're all going to have meetings at the end of the year. You figure that, they're all going to be part of those all of them being part of those conversations means they're all coming back. And, I expected that. We got to see how it all goes with the Yankees. But, the Mets got some work to do. Obviously, David Stearns is now the president of baseball operations there. So, and Billy Epler is still the general manager. So we'll see what happens with that. Buck Showalter, and I mentioned this on the Patreon episode, he's not coming back as the Mets manager. So we'll see. Craig Counsell's been a name that's been floating around. So we'll see. I guess it really all depends on what happens with the Brewers in the playoffs. But there's news there on that front. And just some other things. So Manny Machado, he underwent elbow surgery. Curious to see what the Padres are going to do in the offseason. I think they will run it back, but we'll have to wait and see on that. A disappointing season for them as well. The top three teams in baseball when it comes to payroll. All had disappointing seasons, and ended up missing the playoffs. So, they got a lot of work to do as well. So, so Manny Machado, the other thing too is, and I'm looking on CBS with this, so he's going to be out 4 to 6 months after the surgery. So, but yeah, hopefully he's able to come back, and we'll see what the Padres can do in the offseason, and we'll see how they rebound next year. If this year was just a fluke. They did finish the season on a strong note, so, we'll just have to wait and see on that. But yeah, so according to reports, Ohtani is just disappointed by the Angels' failures, The general manager said that, and yeah, I mean, as absolutely you should be. I mean, they went for it at the trade deadline. They didn't trade Otani. They had a winning record, and it all fell apart. Mike Trout missed the rest of the year, played one game, and yeah, so Otani probably not coming back to the Angels, but we'll see what happens. Um, Mariners executive Jerry Dipoto X fans for patience, and yeah, that was a disappointing end to their season. Barely missing the playoffs. This was a playoff team last year, and they made some noise in it. And obviously, they ran into the Astros, and they could have won that series. But that was definitely a disappointing finish to their season. And they're going to be one of those teams that's going to be trying to get Otani, and I think that would be a good spot for him because that team is pretty good. You got Julio Rodriguez there, Luis Castillo at the top of the rotation. You get Otani in there, add another bat to the lineup, and I mean, it. And if Otani comes back and pitches the following year, I mean, that would be a great move for the Mariners. It really would, because that's a team that's trying to break through, and this was a step back for them after making the playoffs last year and coming back against the Brewers, or the Brewers against the Blue Jays. Sorry, I don't know why I said Brewers. I mean, Josh Donaldson played for both teams, but coming back against the Blue Jays, and then obviously running into the Astros. They had game one in the bag, but Robbie Ray gave up that home run to Yordan Alvarez, and then they lost that 18-inning marathon against them in game three. So, yeah, it just disappointing end for their season, but they should be a team that's playoff contender going into next year, and we'll see what they do in the off season. So also on CBS they have the list of the the 25 best free agents entering season. So that'll definitely be something that I could touch upon later in the week. And also come back to it during the off season. We'll go over the free agents and what their possible destinations could be. So, but again, today was just crazy with the power being out. I mean, of course that ends up happening, but listen, you just got to deal with it, and it happens. It happens though. But I hope everybody's again doing well. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the latest news and headlines. Obviously, the Twins was like the major thing because of ending that playoff win drought that's been going on forever, pretty much my whole lifetime. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, and I want to give the other games some love as well, and we'll get into them over the course of the next few segments, and then we'll obviously preview the games for today. Got all 4 games again today. And we'll see what teams could wrap them up and if we have to see a Game 3 tomorrow. So it's possible. I mean, I think we'll definitely see at least 1 or 2 go into tomorrow for Game 3. I think some of them are going to be wrapped up by tonight. But again, baseball is unpredictable. So you could see all of them get wrapped up tonight, or you could see none of them. And we have all Game 3s. But then that means more games to talk about. So... but yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the first segment of the show. So when we get back from our first break, we are going to recap the games. Obviously, we'll go more into detail with the games from yesterday. Obviously the Twins and the Blue Jays, and we'll also get into the Rangers and the Rays and how the Rays played a very sloppy game and not looking good right now for them. So that'll be when we come back from our first break. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC baseball podcast. And for the second segment of today's show, we are going to go into more detail regarding the American League wildcard side of things. So obviously, before we'll go in order. So the Rays and the Rangers, and then we'll get into the Twins. Obviously, we talked about them in the first segment, ending their playoff win drought. So the Rays and the Rangers. So I had the Rays winning this series. And it was based off of momentum. I mean, the Rays were coming in hot, 99 wins on the regular season. Rangers were coming in, scuffling a little bit. They just choked the American League West to the Astros. And I don't know. I mean, the Rays at home, I went with the Rays in the series. But, when it's the playoffs, though, it all goes out the window. It's a whole different atmosphere. And I did say how, the Rays, a lot more fans go to the games. But, yeah, there was a lot of empty seats. So, they can't move into that new ballpark sooner. But even then, I don't know. I don't know. I just remember back in the day when they made it to the World Series in 2008. And I don't know. I feel like they packed out that stadium more. I don't know. I guess as time went on, a lot of people just lose interest. And it's unfortunate because the Rays have been a good team. It's just they really don't pack out that stadium. So, but yeah, so yesterday you had Jordan Montgomery going for the Rangers, and then for the Rays you had Tyler Glasnow. And yeah, the Rays ended up losing 4-0. And yeah, the lineup just couldn't do anything. But the other thing too is they made a lot of errors. Now, I was able to catch, some of the game. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing. But the Rays had 4 errors in this game. They played a very sloppy game. You had a wild pitch that led to a run scored. You had, them trying to throw out a runner at second base, gets thrown into the. I don't know if it was on the stolen base or was it was a hit. But it was a hit. It was hit to center field. Siri kind of bobbled the ball, and then he threw it to third base, and it went into the dugout, and that allowed another run to score for the Rangers. Just, very sloppy. Diaz couldn't scoop a ball at first base that was thrown his way. And the Rangers capitalized on it. And they got a big win. And Jordan Montgomery, former Yankee, pitched very well. And listen, he's going to be big for the Rangers because, listen, they don't have DeGrom. You don't have Scherzer. It's really going to be up to Monty and Eovaldi to, that's the top of their rotation right now. Montgomery went 7 innings, 6 hits, 5 Ks, no walks. He pitched amazing. He was great. Aroldis Chapman, who, of course, another former Yankee, who I had some concern with pitching in big games, he went 1 inning with 1 strikeout. And Leclerc, he pitched 1 inning, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So the bullpen did their job. Montgomery pitched very well. We look at the box score for the Rangers. Corey Seager went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a walk. Tavares had 2 hits. Adolis Garcia had a hit. Nathaniel Lau had a hit. Jonah Heim had a hit. Josh Young had an RBI. Evan Carter had 2 hits and 2 walks, so he was on base a lot. So really, the scoring summary. So yeah, Josh Young had a sac fly. There was a wild pitch. Corey Seager scored off of that. Corey Seager had a single that led to 2 runs being scored. Again, that was the throwing error by Jose Siri. That was in the top of the 6th. And yeah, the Rays just really couldn't get anything going. Rosarena had 2 hits. Paredes had a hit. Meade had a hit. Walls had 2 hits, but struck out 7 times in total. But yeah, they just really could not get anything going. And yeah, 4 errors, and this is a team that's, pretty good defensively. But yeah, they couldn't get anything going. And, they felt confident going into the series. There was talk about that as well. But yeah, they were flat. Glasnow, He wasn't great. 5 walks, 3 earned runs, 6 hits. Still had 8 strikeouts. The bullpen did its job. Davinsky pitched 2 innings. Diekman pitched an inning, and Kittredge pitched an inning. And yeah, they all did well. They each gave up a hit. Diekman walked a guy. But yeah, I mean, the Rays offense just could not get anything going. And that's the thing that happens in the postseason is, you're facing better pitching, and you're facing the best of the best. So sometimes you're going to struggle, and that's what happened. But yeah, listen, like I started with the Rays just because I like their pitching better, and they finished with a better record. Rangers were coming in flat. Even though I like the Rangers lineup better than the Rays lineup. It's just, I think overall, I don't know. I just like the Rays going into the series. And listen, the Rays can still win it, but right now it's not looking good. I mean, they played really sloppy defense. They couldn't get anything going offensively. So, yeah, I don't know. Right now it's in the Rangers' favor, and they got Nathan Eovaldi pitching. So, now the Rays got Zach Eflin, who's had a great season as well. Both of these guys were Cy Young candidates. I mean, Eovaldi was the favorite at one point, and then he got hurt. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But right now, it's not looking good for the Rays. So yeah, tonight it's Nathan Eovaldi and Zach Eflin. The game starts at 3:08 Eastern time. So yeah, so we'll see if the Rays can get anything going there. But yeah, not looking good. And again, like the Rays are coming in, they got some injuries as well, and stuff happened with other players off the field. They're still missing McClanahan, of course, who apparently he's not pitching. He's not going to pitch pretty much next year either. That's a big loss for them. And obviously Glass now, he was dealing with stuff, and obviously he just came back. So yeah, the Rays got hit with injuries and other stuff that doesn't really need to be mentioned, and most people know what I'm referencing. But yeah, right now it's not looking good. Rangers right now are in the driver's seat, and it's just funny how obviously this is now a wild card series, but yeah, like you lose game one, it's like you're facing elimination, and it's just weird to hear that. But yeah, that's what it is now, So, but yeah, that's basically what happened there. Rangers right now are in the driver's seat. So we will see what happens. But yeah, the winner of that series then goes on and faces the Orioles. So now I didn't have the Rays going far. I had them getting to the division series and then losing. But yeah, I mean some people have the Rays going to the World Series. So right now that World Series pick is not looking good for some people. So now we'll get into the Blue Jays and the Twins. So obviously, yes, the Twins, they just can't get anything going when they make it to the postseason. And I'm not super confident. I wasn't super confident in the Blue Jays, but I kind of leaned more towards picking them just because of the Twins not really having much playoff success. And the Twins got the win, 3-1. Pablo Lopez pitched very well. Gausman was okay. They said he was struggling with some of his command, some of his pitches. I think it was a splitter. They said I think that's what he was struggling with. But listen, he only gave up 3 runs, and those 3 runs came off of the bat of one player, and that was Royce Lewis, the rookie for the Twins. Had a 2-run home run in the bottom of the first, so that put the Twins up immediately. Then had a home run in the bottom of the third. And the Blue Jays really just couldn't get anything going. They scored a run in the 6th inning off of a Kevin Kiermaier single, and that was the final score, 3-1. You look at the box score for the Blue Jays: Springer 0 for 5, Brandon Belt 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 1 for 4, Bichette 2 for 4, Biggio was 0 for 4, Kirk was 0 for 2 with a walk. Kiermaier, he had 2 hits, he had the RBI and a walk. Matt Chapman was 1 for 4. Varsho was 0 for 2. And Whit Merrifield came in to pinch hit, but he was 0 for 1 with a walk. So Blue Jays just really could not get anything going. And it's not like the Twins really did anything either. I mean, the Blue Jays out-hit them 6-5. Royce Lewis was the difference in the game. Kepler had a hit. He was 1 for 4. Correa was 1 for 4. Michael A. Taylor, he had made some nice plays in the outfield yesterday. He was 1 for 3. But yeah, I mean, not really, not re- not really a lot of offense in this game, and it was again only done by one player basically. So now going tonight, today you got Barrios against Sonny Gray. Now I said the Blue Jays will take game one. I said this series would go 3 games. But yeah, I don't really can't really like what you saw from the Blue Jays. I mean, again, Royce Lewis was the offense for the Twins yesterday. So I mean, we'll see what happens. It's going to be another close game today. I mean, right now you got to lean towards the Twins with Sonny Gray going for them. But again, I mean, the Blue Jays are a good offensive team, and I mean, I think they should take today's game. But we'll get into more of that in the next segment, though. But yeah, it's just not a good showing for the Blue Jays, and especially again because Royce Lewis was the offense for the Twins. So Blue Jays got to win today. Blue Jays and the Rays. Now, do they get it done? Right now, I mean, I'm favoring Texas right now to win today. Just because I mean the Rays. I mean, right now the Rays and the Blue Jays just couldn't get anything going offensively, and you got Evaldi pitching for Texas. You got Sonny Gray pitching for the Twins. So it's going to be tough. I think both games will be close. I think the Blue Jays, they somehow find a way to win today. I think the Rays... I think the Rangers may take the series and move on. And it's just funny how I say that after, basically, picking the bracket, and I'm giving up on the Rays already. So, but we'll just have to wait and see. And yeah, that's basically the preview when it comes to the recap when it comes to the American League wild card. So games 2 for both series are today. We'll get into that in the final segment. We'll preview those games even more. Obviously I kind of gave you my thoughts on it already, but we'll talk about some of the keys to the game, and yeah, that'll be the final part of the show. So with that, we are going to take our second break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to recap the NL wildcard side of things and how those games shaped out today. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to recap the National League wildcard games from last night, go through the scores with that. And yeah, but again, before I do that, once again, to donate or tip to the show, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show. And for bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this broadcast, make sure to go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network. And that's where you can find all the exclusive content, for my podcast, the baseball podcast, and for the other podcasts that we have, the fantasy football, college football, and basketball. That's where you can find all the exclusive content with that. So now that we got that said, let's get into the third part of the show, which is the National League wildcard recap. So you had the Diamondbacks and the Brewers. was the game that started first, and then you had the Marlins and the Phillies. Now, the Brewers got off to a hot start. They were up 3-0 after the second inning, and you had Fought going for the Diamondbacks, who is a rookie, not didn't have a good first season. Finished with a 3-9 record, a 5.72 ERA. But the Diamondbacks had to start him because of Kelly and Zach Gallen, being on short rest. So I guess they didn't want to, start them. So they put Fought in to start Game 1. And yeah, it didn't get off to a good start. Bottom of the first, Carlos Santana had an RBI single. Tyrone Taylor, he had a 2-run home run that put them up 3-0, the Brewers. So yeah, it didn't look good in the beginning. But then the Brewers did not score again. They did not score again for the rest of the game. Then in the top of the third, Corbin Carroll, who's up for National League Rookie of the Year, hit his first postseason home run, a 2-run home run that got the Diamondbacks within 1, and then Kentel Marte homered to tie the game at 3, and that was in the top of the third. Then Gabriel Moreno homered in the top of the fourth to make it 4-3, and then Christian Walker had a 2-run double in the top of the ninth, and that was important insurance runs to put the Diamondbacks up 6-3, and that's all she wrote. Brewers lose a tough game at home, and now they are facing elimination. And I said I like the Diamondbacks in the series, because I figured, listen, you lose Game 1, but then you got your 2 best starters going after that, and and this was off of Corbin Burns, who was going for the Brewers, and yeah, he only pitched 4 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, and he gave up 3 home runs. He was responsible for that. Williams gave up the other 2 runs in the ninth inning. So yeah, he was responsible for that. But I mean, yeah, other than that, the Brewers bullpen did pitch pretty well. It was really just Williams. He was really their only hiccup there. But yeah, the Brewers, they got off to that good start, and then they just didn't do anything after that. Christian Yelich had a hit. Contreras had 2 hits. Santana had the RBI single in the first. Frelick had 2 hits. Adames had 3 hits. Donaldson had 2 hits. Taylor had the hit, the 2-run home run. But yeah, they just could not get anything going. And yeah, and then for the Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll had 2 hits, so he went 2 for 3. Marte went 1 for 5. Christian Walker went 3 for 4. Moreno went 1 for 4. Longoria went 1 for 4, and he also had a very nice play that saved the Diamondbacks, because runs were going to come across on that. And you kind of forget about Evan Longoria. 37 years old, still playing the hot corner, and yeah, he made a really nice play to save the game. I forget what inning that was in. If I can see if I can look for it. It was late. It was later in the game. I'm looking right now. I'm trying to see if I can find it. And yeah, so this one says Josh Donaldson grounded out, because it was a line drive that Longoria caught. And yeah, so it was in the bottom of the 5th. So Tyrone Taylor lined into a double play, so Longoria made the play and threw to second base to get the out, and that ended the inning. And that was a big play in the game. And that's huge. You got to get good. And listen, the Rays could have used Evan Longoria yesterday. But that's the other thing too, is you got to make good plays in these games too. I mean, every play is critical. Especially obviously this series. It's the best 2 or 3. So, yeah. But that was a big play in the game. But this is what everybody talks about with the Brewers, is they have the pitching. It's just the hitting is the problem. And that kind of reared its head again yesterday. You score 3 runs in the first 2 innings, and then you don't do anything after that. And the Diamondbacks, chipped away, and they came back, and they took the lead, and they took the game. And I had the Diamondbacks winning the series, but I had to go in 3 games. I had the Brewers taking Game 1. They got Gallen and Kelly pitching Games 2 and 3. So I thought, hey, the Diamondbacks are going to take it in 3 games. But they end up taking game 1, and now you got your best starter pitching today. So you got to like the Diamondbacks' chances tonight. And also because Brandon Woodruff was ruled out for the rest of the playoffs. And that's the Brewers' number 2 starter. So odds are kind of stacked up against the Brewers right now. So we'll see what happens today. I don't know. They still didn't have a starter announced, but let's see. Yeah, so so now Peralta's gonna be pitching tonight. So yeah, it's a big game for the Brewers. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I had the Diamondbacks getting past the first round, and right now that's looking good. So yeah, and then so far I'm doing good in the National League side of things. So we move on to the next game. Phillies and the Marlins, and the Phillies took that game last night, winning 4-1 over the Marlins. Zach Wheeler pitched very well. Luzardo picked up the loss. Kimbrel got the save. So Wheeler went 6 2/3, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. Alvarado had 2 strikeouts. He pitched an inning. He got the hold. Hoffman pitched a third of an inning. So he gets a hold, and Kimbrel gets the save. So the bullpen pitched well for the Phillies, and yeah, I mean they got 4 runs. Alec Boehm, bottom of the third, he had an RBI double. Bryson Stott had a single in the bottom of the fourth, put them up 2-0. Christian Pache, he singled, score a run, so that led to it being 3-0 Phillies. Brian De La Cruz got the Marlins on the board, making the game at 3-1, top of the 7th. And then Castellanos doubled in the bottom of the 8th, and that led to the Phillies getting their 4th run. And I think that was the run that Bryce Harper went through the stop sign from the third base coach, and he scored. So yeah, Phillies end up winning 4-1. Look at the box score there. Schwarber, sorry, my dad's doing work downstairs as usual with the house. That's why you might be hearing some loud noises there. So Schwarber went 1 for 4. Trey Turner went 2 for 3. Boehm went 1 for 4. Harper went 1 for 4. Real Muto 1 for 4. Castellanos 2 for 4. Stott 1 for 4. Pache 1 for 2. Marsh came in as a pinch hitter and subbed in left field. He was 0 for 2, and Rojas was 1 for 3. But yeah, the Phillies really didn't have to do that much. The Marlins really just couldn't get anything going against Zach Wheeler, which you kind of figured. And listen, unfortunately for the Marlins, they were a great story this year, and it's awesome that they were able to make the playoffs. But I think with the Phillies, you're just running into a better team, and the home field advantage in Philadelphia is incredible. And yeah, I don't really see the Marlins winning this series, unfortunately. So yeah, I think I think that it's pretty much done for them. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But they had 7 hits. I mean, they did get a decent amount of hits. Josh Bell had 3 hits. Rise had went 1 for 4. Soler had a rough night, 3 strikeouts, 0 for 4 on the day. Jazz Chisholm went 0 for 4. Jake Berger had a hit. De La Cruz had their only RBI. Sanchez went 1 for 2. Birdie went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Yeah, just didn't really get anything going. And Luzardo, he only went 4 innings, gave up 8 hits, 3 earned runs. The bullpen did give up 1 run, and that was the Castellanos double, but everybody else kind of did well. O'Kirky gave up that run. He got charged with that. But everybody else pitched well. So, yeah, I mean, for the Marlins, it's going to be tough. Now you got Aaron Nola pitching tonight for the Phillies, and Aaron Nola is kind of one of those Jekyll and Hyde pitchers, but did have if we go to his postseason stats from last year, because I know they'll probably have him up. So in the postseason, well, he actually went 2-2 with a 4.91 ERA, but he was very good last year in some games in the postseason. So actually, let's see if I can go through him specifically. Yeah, I mean, he had the one game last year. He was 1-0. He went 6 innings. That was against the Braves. The league championship series, Yeah, so against the Padres last year, 0-1 with an 11.57 ERA. So yeah, he only went 4 2/3, gave up 6 runs. And he also had, and then he had an 8.64 ERA in the World Series. I don't know why. I thought he pitched. I guess in the wild card series he pitched better last year. He went 6 2/3 there. So I guess it was a championship series and the World Series that kind of like inflated his numbers. The first 2 rounds he was good. The last 2 weren't. But then again, it all goes back to what I was saying about him being kind of a Jekyll and Hyde pitcher. So we'll see what happens tonight. I think the Phillies get it done. I just think they're the better team, unfortunately. But we'll see. Maybe the Marlins could prove us wrong. But I mean, the Phillies' home field advantage is also just incredible too. Now that the Phillies are good again, Citizens Bank Park, now it's looking like it was when they were good, in the early 2010s. So yeah, but I guess I really just remember the first 2 rounds for Nola. So and then the Marlins, they have Garrett pitching tonight. So we'll see what happens, but I kind of lean towards the Phillies. So the National League side of things, right now, my predictions are looking good. It's the American League side of things that is not looking good right now. But and listen, again, as a Yankee fan, it's the Rays and the Blue Jays that I picked, and they're facing elimination. So am I going to be upset if they don't move on? Not necessarily, but I mean, I'm not going to be. I mean, if they move on, if they somehow come back, if they come back and move on to the next round, I'm not going to be celebrating, of course. But and one of those teams is going to end up playing the Astros. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the National League wild card side of things. We'll see what happens today, of course. But obviously teams are facing elimination: Rays, the Blue Jays, Brewers, and the Marlins. And right now, the Rays were the only home team that well, actually no. The Rays and the Brewers, they were the home teams that lost. So, obviously you got to protect your home field. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. So with that, we're going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we will discuss the wild card game 2 preview. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, and for some reason my camera is frozen right now, so I'm going to see if I could try to fix it. I was hoping this would not happen while I'm on camera, but unfortunately this decided to do this right now. So, oh, wait, and we're good, we're back. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that happens. It did happen during the Patreon video, but it also happened again today, unfortunately, while we were on the live stream. So I apologize for that. But then you saw me making a weird face because my face was frozen. But listen, it's always, some of this stuff's gonna happen. But I think it also has to do with sometimes, like if I move my desk, for some reason the camera, the video camera that I have attached to my laptop, gets affected by that. So it like turns off, and then I'm scrambling to try to fix it, and I can't fix it while I'm in break, but but we're good now. Because when it happened during the Patreon, the camera just wouldn't turn on, so I ended up using the camera off of my laptop, which is not this quality here is much better than on my on my laptop itself. So that's why I invested in a video camera, and again, trying to produce the best podcast that I can, for you guys. So, but yeah, that was just a minor thing, and believe me, I noticed it. So obviously now, you're just gonna see my face frozen at one point during the video. So yeah, but now let's get into the final segment, which is now previewing the game twos for both the American League and the National League. So obviously I kind of went through it already, but we'll go through it again. So obviously you got the Blue Jays and the Rays facing elimination on the American League side of things, and you got the Brewers and the Marlins facing elimination on the National League side of things. Now, it's going to be tough for some of these teams. For the Rays, you're going to have to go up against Nathan Eovaldi, so it doesn't get any easier. I thought maybe they could hit Jordan Montgomery, but that wasn't the case. Montgomery pitched exceptional yesterday, and Eovaldi has had a good season with the Rangers. 12-5, 3.63 ERA. His career postseason record is 4-3 with a 3.14. So he's got the formula for pi as his ERA. And listen, World Series champ with the Red Sox. I think he's going to go out there and pitch well. He's got a good track record pitching well in the postseason. So it's going to be a pitcher's duel, another pitcher's duel. And then you got Eflin on the other side with the Rays, who's had a great season. And we'll take a look at his numbers again on the season. So in 10 games in the postseason, he has no win-loss record. It's 0-0, 3.38 ERA, 10.2, 10 and 2/3 innings pitched. I said 10.2. 10 and 2/3 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts, and a 1.41 WHIP. And then in the regular season this year, 16-8, 3.5, 177 and 2/3 innings pitched, 186 strikeouts, and a 1.02 WHIP. So the WHIP is a little bit higher in the postseason than it is, well, at least, for his regular season this year. His overall WHIP in the regular season is 1.24. So yeah, his postseason WHIP is higher. Smaller sample size, of course. 10 games only in the postseason. Actually, let's look at how he did in the postseason last year. So, in 2 games last year with the Phillies in the wild card series, he had a 4.5 ERA. He had a save in that game. He had 2 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2.5 WHIP, and opponent's batting average was 400. Then you look at the division series. He had an 11.57 ERA in 2 games pitched, 2 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 1 home run he gave up. Batting average was 300, and the WHIP was 1.29. Then in the championship series, pitched in 2 games, 1 hold, 2 innings, only 2 hits, 1 strikeout. WHIP was down to 1. Opponent's batting average was 286. And then in the World Series, again, ERA was at 0, 4 games, 4 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 walk. Opponent's batting average was 250, 6 strikeouts, 1.15 was his WHIP. So numbers got better as the postseason went on last year. But now let's see how he is, starting for the Rays. I mean, this is an elimination game. Do they have the lineups out? I feel like they have to. Let's see. So yeah, so these are the lineups now. We got the lineups, at least for this game. So we got Simeon leading off. Then we got Seager, Robbie Grossman, Adolis Garcia, Daniel Loud, Jonah Heim, Tavares, Josh Young, and then Evan Carter. That's their lineup. And then for the Rays, you got Yandy Diaz leading off, Arozarena batting second, Harold Ramirez batting third, Josh Lowe batting fourth, Isaac Paredes batting fifth, playing third base, Manuel Margot in center field. Then you got Meade at second base. Then you got Tyler Walls, and then Pinto rounds it out. Walls shortstop, Pinto catcher. So, listen, I like the Rangers lineup better. I mean, this lineup, you got righty, lefty, switch hitter, righty, lefty, switch hitter, righty, lefty. Love that lineup. Love it. That's what I wish, the team that I root for has, but whatever. But, yeah. So, right now, I like the Rangers' chances. I mean, the Rays got to score runs here. I mean, they got blanked 4-0. So, we'll just have to wait and see on that. But yeah, it's not good right now for the Rays, and this is a big game for them. So we'll see what they can do here in Game 2 to hold off elimination. So then in the second game, Twins and the Blue Jays. Twins obviously getting the win yesterday. Right now they're the only team that has their lineup out. You got Julian leading off, playing second base. Jorge Polanco batting second. At third, Royce Lewis, the DH. He'll bat third. Kepler is the cleanup hitter. He'll bat fourth. Kurloff, he's batting fifth. Playing first base. Correa sixth. Shortstop. Wallner in left field. Jeffers catching, and then Michael A. Taylor closes out the lineup, rounds out the lineup there. Blue Jays still don't have their lineup out for today, but yeah, it's Barrios against Sonny Gray. And listen, if the Twins get this win, that's huge for them. I mean, listen, the Blue Jays, I knew it was going to be I didn't think they were going to walk all over them because I know the Blue Jays have their struggles too, but the Blue Jays I still think are the better team. But again, I've said it too, sometimes the best team doesn't always win. So, we'll just have to wait and see. This is a big start for Barrios, obviously pitching against his former team. So there's that little storyline there in the playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, listen, and again, the Twins, their offense was Royce Lewis. That was their offense. So, we'll see if the Blue Jays can respond and get going offensively. Game is at 4:38 p.m. Eastern Time, and that is on ESPN. And Rangers and Rays, that's at 3:08 p.m. Eastern Time. That is on ABC. So, and they actually cut away from that game yesterday, because ABC News had to cut in. They had something that they needed to talk about. So the game was turned off. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just turning on Rays and Twins. Because I don't think I had ESPN. I think they switched it to ESPN News, and I don't think I had that. So I'm just like, all right, I guess I'll just watch the second game. So, but yeah, so that's on the American League side of things. Then on the, but actually, quick thing with the Blue Jays and the Twins. So I forgot to mention there was that play in the game where there was a ground ball to third, went past the third baseman. Correa came out of nowhere and threw out Bichette. They sent Bichette to try to score, and he got thrown out. So that was kind of bad on the Blue Jays part, but I forgot to mention that during the recap. So, but yeah, so we'll see what happens today. Make sure to tune into those games. Now we got the Diamondbacks and the Brewers. So that's at 7:08. You got Zach Gallen against Peralta. Freddie Peralta, who on the season was 12-10 with the 3.86 ERA. And his postseason, he's 0-0 with a 1.13 ERA in 3 games. 12 strikeouts, and his whip is at 1. So, yeah, I mean, this is a big start for him. I mean, especially now with Woodruff being hurt, they had to move him up. So, so the Blue Jays right now, they don't have a Game 3, Blue Jays. The Brewers don't have a Game 3 starter at the moment. And then, of course, you got Zach Gallen, who is a Cy Young candidate, 17-9, 3.47 ERA. And I believe he will be making his postseason debut. So we'll see how that goes. He will be making his postseason debut. So we'll see how he pitches. It's a big game. I think the Diamondbacks win. I think they win. Do they have any of the lineups set? No, they do not. So we got no lineups, unfortunately. But at least we were able to get the wild card. At least we were able to get the Rays and the Rangers the lineup out. But yeah, I mean, again, for the Brewers, it's their offense. Their offense is the problem, and it's not going to get any easier. You hope Peralta can keep it close. guys are just gonna have to wake up. They got things going. It's just, they just couldn't get the job done. They had runners in scoring position, but they just couldn't get them across. And they jumped out to a 3-0 lead, and they just they just couldn't get anything going. So, we'll see what happens with this game, but you kind of like I like the D-backs tonight. I think they get it done. And if they don't get it done, the Diamondbacks I said would win this series. I think they will. I just feel like, and listen, the Brewers are down a starter. Their lineup struggles in the postseason. And the Diamondbacks, they got their 2 best starters. I mean, they had their rookie going out there yesterday, and they took him out early, and they were able to salvage that game, come back and win the game. And that is something that I wish other teams would do, because last year when my team was in the playoffs, they basically punted. They punted. They were like, we got the next game. And they ended up getting swept. The Diamondbacks, they're like, listen, we can win this game. The other thing too is you got to hit. Diamondbacks, they hit. Corbin Carroll, Marte homered, Moreno homered. You also need your lineup to do things too, because then that kind of changes the course of your plan as well. If you're like, this was to see what happens. But yeah, that was a big win yesterday for the Diamondbacks, and I think they take it. And then when it comes to the Phillies and the Marlins, I really already touched upon it. I think the Phillies take the series tonight. I just think they are a better team than the Marlins. It also depends on how Aaron Nola pitches. Aaron Nola could go out there and be terrible, and then, you're looking at a Game 3 scenario, but I don't know. I feel like Aaron Nola is going to step up tonight, and I just think the Phillies, their lineup is better than the Marlins. They're going to jump on Garrett, and they're going to move on, and they are going to end up playing the Braves. And, people are saying it. Braves definitely do not want to play the Phillies. They just don't. Because of having Zach Wheeler at the top of the rotation, Nola could pitch well. And the Braves, they're dealing with some injuries too. Max Fried, Charlie Morton. I don't know off the top of my head what their status is. Those are big losses, but you still got Strider, you still got Elder, so and of course you have a very good lineup. The Braves have a very good lineup themselves, so but yeah, Phillies Braves rematch from last year's division series. I would take that. So, that's pretty much it when it comes to the previews. The Marlins, for them, they got to jump out early. That goes for every team really. The Brewers, they got to get the offense going. Rays got to get the offense going and play clean defense. The Blue Jays, their offense needs to wake up and contain Royce Lewis, because that's the thing. One player is the reason why he lost. So, for these teams that are down 0-1, I give the Marlins the least chance to come back. The other 3 teams, the Brewers, the Blue Jays, and the Rays, I think those teams can win tonight and push their series to Game 3s. For the Marlins, I think the Phillies take it. I feel the most confident in the Phillies winning tonight's game. Out of all the series, the Phillies I'm the most confident in. But yeah, that's the wild card series. You lose Game 1 and it's like, you're facing elimination already. When it used to be, just 2 years ago, you get knocked out, that's it. So, you're really just adding on an extra game. But yeah, so once again, ABC, 3:08 p.m. Eastern Time, Rays and Rangers, Blue Jays and Twins, 4:38 p.m. Eastern Time, Diamondbacks and Brewers, 7:08 p.m. Eastern Time. That's on ESPN2. Blue Jays and Twins is on ESPN, Rangers and Rays, ABC. And then on ESPN at 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time, you got the Marlins and the Phillies. So, yeah, we'll see how those games go, and like I said, we'll be back tomorrow and we'll recap all the games and whoever gets eliminated, and start looking towards the weekend when the division series starts, because it's coming up, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if maybe all series get wrapped up tonight. Who knows? Who knows? Again, baseball is just one of those sports that is unpredictable. So with that, that is all the time that we have for today. I thank you for watching. Again, I apologize for, well, the background noise. Starting the show an hour late because of power, and then, of course, had my camera decide to turn off on me while I was streaming. But again, stuff like this is just going to happen, and just going to have to deal with it. So until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off. Have a good day. Enjoy the games today. Make sure to leave a comment, a like, and subscribe to the video. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. So take care, and I'll see you then.